With regard to Julie Ertz, it makes me wonder how Alana Cook is playing. I was at the game in San Jose against Wales. I didn't think Alana Cook looked great in that particular one. I think you have to have Julie Ertz on the field because she's a leader. I think she's ticks all the boxes for the intangibles. She seems to be more of a disruptor. She made actually a really big potential game-saving tackle to block a shot against the Netherlands. So you can see that she's got that grit. She's willing to put herself out there, sacrifice for the team. But I'm not the biggest Andy Sullivan fan. I think Julie Ertz might be better served for us to be in that 6th spot. And that's where we've had a lot of success with her in that. But I guess, I don't know. Alana Cook might not be lighting it up. So
could you put a Ashley Sanchez as that D midi? Because she's feisty too. I mean, she plays as a 10, as a withdrawn striker almost with Washington Spirit. But she's a tough tackler. I mean, she can mix it up. Or you can drop Haran a little bit deeper and have her be that 6 who's a little bit more box to box.
Sure. For people that might not watch the women's national team as much, Haran is a little bit more box to box, of course, like you mentioned. But it's like putting Eunice Musa and Weston McKinney to cover for Tyler Adams. She's not like, that's not her best position. Can she do it? Of course she can. She's an excellent player and she knows how to play that, but that's not where her instincts are. So yeah, we could do it. And I think it would be interesting because you could bring on Rose Lavelle and Ashley Sanchez at the same time. Clearly Vlatko's got some
trust issues
potentially, and some vibes, some vibes for Savannah DeMello, who I think is a good player, but it's crazy that she's getting her first starts with the national team in a World Cup where an Ashley Sanchez is on your bench or Lynn Williams is on your bench or whatever it is. I mean, it's interesting, but I get it.
To be fair, Savannah DeMello absolutely has torn up NWSL. She's a baller, and
she is. I'm a fan of her.
I just don't think it's clicked yet because she hasn't learned where she's supposed to be with this team, with this group of women, right? So you're still trying to figure out what my role is, because my role is completely different with Racing Louisville, where I have to do everything, that she's kind of relied on to win the ball, transition, get into the final third. Here it's, I got to get the ball off my feet. I got to find Trinity Rodman or Sophia Smith or Alex Morgan and play off her. So I just think she's still trying to figure out what exactly her role is and how she can have the most impact without taking away from everyone else.
Now, Heath, I want to get your question or your thoughts on this. It's about the substitution thing, because if you're going to win any tournament of consequence, you're going to have to be 14, 15, 16 players deep minimum. And when you're not trusting your bench in a big moment, or we can see
too
in the group stage too. Yeah, I agree with you, Chuck, on that. That really blows my mind. And he said afterwards, oh, the team was in a good rhythm. We had them on the ropes or whatever. I'm paraphrasing here, but that was essentially the gist. Yeah, you have a team on the ropes, and you guys, we've all been on the bench before, and you always, when you're watching the game from that position, hey, if I got in, I think I could impact the game in this way. I could help my team in this way. I've identified a weakness and a vulnerability in the other team, and if I get in, I'm going to exploit that weakness. And we didn't give our best attacking players that are on the bench a chance to maybe impact the game in that way when the Dutch were reeling. Now, listen, I'm a big Sophia Smith and Trinity Rodman fan. You're not going to have to twist my arm to ever keep them on the field. But we have world-class players that are ready to go on the bench, and I thought we did our team a disservice.
Well, when you look at the final result, right, you take your risk in saying, I'm going to go with what we have. And there is some truth when some coaches say, hey, I was planning to make the sub, but then we got into a rhythm, and you don't want to disrupt that, because if I make 1 or 2 or 3 changes, it can change the whole flow. However, and you've got quality on the field. However, you're building trust with these players. And when that doesn't pan out, right, you're under this criticism now of saying, why did you wait so long? You had an opportunity to bring in players, rotate, rest legs, do all the things that you brought all these players. You brought a deep roster to be able to go to them, and you have the talent to be able to go to them. So I'm not against the idea of like, hey, it was tough, but even in the closing moments, like, do something different, right? Do something different, because you've got people that can be game changers, put them on the field to be able to make those changes. And now that can create a little bit of divide, right? Of trust. If you're a player that's like, hey, when things were tight or things were hard, you didn't come to me in these moments. You went with these players. You went with the ones that you trusted more. You'd rather have these people who aren't working based on what they did previously today, as opposed to looking at it objectively and saying, hey, today it's off. It's not working. We need to go with something else that could get us this win against this team that's showing some vulnerabilities. Doesn't need to be wholesale changes, but yeah, I think it's disappointing. Makes me nervous in terms of that trust that you build or who you think can truly go and get you the result.
Heath, you said it really well. I mean, in terms of depth, this U.S. Women's National Team is supposed to have some real, I mean, talk about energy boosters coming off the bench, difference makers. Alyssa Thompson has been crushing it with Gotham. You have Alyssa Thompson, this young up-and-coming rising star with Angel City.
Lynn Williams, Gotham. Yeah, Alyssa Thompson, Angel City.
Those two, that's what I said?
No, you got it backwards, but it's Jimmy.
Lynn Williams, Gotham, Alyssa Thompson, Angel City.
You said, you said Alyssa Thompson, Gotham. It's
fine. All right, whatever.
We're all on the same page.
Okay, either way, absolute ballers to come in, and this is where you figure out for the long term in those big moments in the knockout stages, who can come off the bench early, who can I depend on, because now those are going to be questions that are unanswered. Come at knockout stage, and you have a big one in the quarterfinals or semifinals. He was saying in the post-game quotes, it's going to take time to adjust. What? What are substitutes supposed to come in for? To change the game? That's why you make substitutions. You don't worry about time to adjust. So, man, if the U.S. women do not do well towards the end of this tournament, it's going to come back to these decisions right here in the group stage against the Netherlands, who are a really good team, but they are not Japan. They are not Spain. They are not England.
Germany looks good too.
Germany, some of these teams have some real weapons, top to bottom, and it's concerning in my mind.
Yeah, it's concerning as well. And I'm hearing from some of the former players that played for Vlatko, he's not a very good communicator. So now if you're Ashley Sanchez and Lynn Williams, who I expect to be top professionals, right? But they need a place to vent and process their disappointment for not being in these games. And you're going to run into like, why doesn't this guy trust me? And I wonder how that's going to show, to your point, Charlie, how that's going to show its face later on when they do need to be trusted. Again, I think the players themselves are going to be top pros, but I think that Vlatko could be handling this a little bit different in terms of his in-game management. We don't know what's happening off the field, and I'm still speculating, of course.
Can I just say though that
whispers I've heard about his management style. Go ahead.
But Jimmy, that's okay. If he's not a good communicator, that's okay. But you better have a staff that can communicate then.
Yes,
because you can be unbelievable tactically. You could be whatever, but you need to understand your weaknesses. The federation needs to understand weaknesses to make sure that they're staffed well, to make sure that anybody that's feeling a certain way right now is getting the time and resources put into them to make sure that this team is constantly swimming in the right direction. Again, it's no different from the men to the women in terms of what you tap into to represent the United States. And you do not want to allow some cracks. We saw that with our 2018 failures and the cracks that slipped into that. You don't want to be on the women's national team that fails at the World Cup. You also have Megan Rapinoe on the bench and Julie, and they can just go to Vlatko and say, boss, gaffer, this ain't working. We got to try. Right. We have to believe in these women that we have on the bench. They're ready. I've seen them. Or, hey, maybe we don't play with 3-4 in the back. Maybe we don't play with a lone six. We don't need it because we're bossing the game. Let's add some more attacking weapons. They're sitting back. A lot of teams that the U.S. play are going to be in the mid block or sitting back. The Netherlands on this occasion, they control the midfield. Add more players to take care of that, because there's not too many teams that are threatening or are going to force the U.S. to drop deep. So in terms of making the game, add some more talent, attacking talent to the team, or players who can control the tempo. And Ashley Sanchez really stands out to me of someone who should be getting more time.
Well, the Netherlands have, I would say, slight control of the group. We have a better goal difference at the moment. We are both on 4 points, us and the Netherlands. Portugal beat Vietnam 2-0, so they have 3 points. We play Portugal next. Portugal are good. I know it's their first time ever in the Women's World Cup, but they've got some ballers, and it's going to be a much more difficult game than I think people might expect on Tuesday. That game, we just need to draw to get into the knockout rounds, and The Netherlands play Vietnam, so it's going to be goal difference. There's a whole bunch of different tiebreakers. I wouldn't be surprised if we finish second, which might drop us into playing Sweden in the round of 16.
It is a gauntlet if you finish second in this group.
We want to finish first in Group E, but if we don't, we'll have Sweden. We most likely will face either Japan or Spain if we get past Sweden in the quarterfinals. Both of those teams have been playing very, very well. So it's not going to be an easy road, but I guess if you want to be the best, you have to beat the best.
And
so
England in the semifinals.
Yeah. It's pretty ridiculous, our road. No matter which way we go at this point, but it would be a little bit easier. I'm going to put my air quotes up, a little bit easier if we get first in our group. So we'll see how it all plays out.